So you want to know how to bulletproof your shoulders and how to progress your shoulder conditioning workouts. Well, in this episode, I am going to show you some really good progressions for the last two workouts that we've been doing in the last couple of days. Now make sure you stick around to the end because as always, we're going to deliver a really good insight and the biggest mistake that people make when they're trying to progress their workouts. All that and more coming up.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
Hi, in case we haven't met, my name's Rad Burmeister. I've got the bloody volume on my computer. I am one of the co-founders of Unity Gym and co-creators of the Unified Movement System, UMS, formerly known as the FMS, where we teach you how to nourish and move instead of diet and exercise. And this week, I've been talking all about shoulder rehab and shoulder conditioning. Seems to be a pretty hot topic. Got a lot of people tuning in. And I'm going to get straight out on the gym floor in just a sec to take you through this progression, this new workout that we're moving into the advanced workouts for shoulder rehab and conditioning. But before I do, as always, I want to get you all to please chime in, tell me your name, tell me where you're watching from, and hit me up with any questions that you have, because when I get back from this, from showing you guys this workout out on the gym floor, I'm going to answer all of your questions and we're going to get into a discussion for anything that anybody wants to talk about. So let's get out there on the gym floor now. I'll make sure that I know what I'm doing. Awesome. Okay, come on out. You ready to go, Richie?
Sure am.
Cool. Okay, it's a little bit cold in Sydney today, so I've got my jumper on to keep me warm. Now, to start with, we're moving on to the more advanced version of these scapular control movements with the shoulder. Now, if you don't know yet what scapular retraction and depression is, if you're looking at my shoulder blades here, they're the scapula. Retraction is when they pull in together towards the spine. Depression is when they pull down. So if I retract my shoulders, it means I go like that. And if I depress them, it means I go like that, down. So that's what we're looking for when we do this. So, this is a progression, by the way, as well. If you're watching this video for the first time, this is the third periodized program in this series. So you're going to want to go back and watch the first and second, so the beginner and intermediate one, before attempting this one. If you've got a shoulder injury that you need to rehabilitate, this is likely going to be way too advanced for you right at the start. But for those of you that have been watching, what we're going to do now is bring the arm, you know what, I'll do it with this side so you can see easier. We're going to bring the arm right up now. So the arm's coming right up above the head and we're going to step in close to the wall. So this is putting us into a much more compromised position with the shoulder, which if you're rehabilitating an injury is going to really start to challenge the scapular stabilizers. And we're going to again retract and depress. When we do this one, we're not aiming for such over-exaggerated retraction and depression. So as long as the shoulder blade is not elevating and protracting, as long as it is coming down and in a little bit, then that's going to be good enough. And then everything else is the same. So from here, I'm still going to do this for those of you that didn't watch the other episodes. We're going to retract and depress here, and then I'm going to go from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock here for 60 reps or up to 60 reps. Then I'm going to change to the other side. Then the next one, retraction and depression. Now I'm going to go from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock, or on my right side it'll be 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock, always keeping the shoulder retracted and depressed. And I do the other side, 60 reps on each side. Then I'm going to circle outward, okay? 60 reps on both sides or up to 60, and then I'm going to circle inward. Okay, so now the idea is that this is very much similar to what you were doing with the other one. The first one we had our arm straight in front. The second progression, we brought the arm up to a 90-degree angle, so elbow at a 90-degree angle. And now this third progression, my arm's coming up here. This is how progressive overload works. This is how you use complexity to progressively overload. So we've got several variables that we can use for progressive overload. Complexity is making the exercise selection more complex. And just by moving the arm into those different positions, it becomes a more complex movement for the shoulder. So that's the first part to the workout. Second part to the workout, we're now progressing from the next scapular stabilization movement, where we started with the dumbbells on the fit ball, and then we progressed to the the W wall slide on the wall. And now what we're doing is we're going to go down into a much harder version down on the ground here with a dowel rod. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold the dowel rod. The closer my hands are together, the harder it is, okay? So what I'm going to do from here, I'm going to keep my nose on the ground, keep my feet on the ground. I'm going to suck my stomach in and create a posterior pelvic tilt. So have a look at my pelvis. This is relaxed. I'm going to create a posterior pelvic tilt. Then from here, I'm going to lift my arms up. And then, I hope you guys can hear me. I know it's going to be muffled with my microphone under my body like that, but anyway. And then from here, I'm going to pull my arms down as far as I can, trying to touch the dowel rod to my shoulders, and then back up. Again, when I get down here, I'm going to hold it, squeeze, take a breath, and then back up. And then again, depressing those shoulders. Now, something else that's really critical with this is that the elbow and wrist stay at the same height at all times. So have a look at this. I want to avoid this. Okay? I want to avoid this. I can't really actually get my elbows above my wrist very easy, but definitely not like that. So what I want to do is keep my elbows up, hands up, keep them at the same height, and squeeze to touch my shoulders, and then come back up. And you still want to do it slow, controlled, full-on posterior pelvic tilt, so we're drawing the stomach in. If you don't do that, if you allow your back to arch, it doesn't isolate the movement so well, and you start recruiting other muscles. Makes it a lot easier. So really try to concentrate on doing that. Now we're going to move on to the most advanced version of the external rotation. And from here, because at Unity Gym, we don't have a cable machine and I have to shimmy it with this barbell here, I need to stand up for this. If you were at a gym, as long as we're the gym that has a cable machine, as long as the cable goes, the anchor point goes to its lowest point down there. But all I do here is just stand up here like this. I get to about a 45 to 90 degree angle, okay? And then from here, I'm going to retract and depress my scapula and pull my elbow up to shoulder height. And then from here, I'm going to, so full-on depression and retraction, and then I'm going to do my external rotations from here. Up, and then 1, 2, 3 on the way down. Up, 1, 2, 3 on the way down. This actually shows to be, when you elevate the elbow up like this, you get the greatest recruitment of the rotator cuff. On any of those other positions that I've shown you, the research actually shows that there's more recruitment from the prime movers, so the deltoids and the other muscles that help with external rotation. Doesn't mean it's not worth doing. There's still good exercises to do, and there's a reason why we do this progression. But once you get the arm up here, you really are getting into the rotator cuff. And then for the internal rotation, you need to now have the anchor point would need to be up there. So for me at the gym, with what we've got access to here, I'm going to sit down like this, so the anchor point's coming from above me, retract and depress my shoulder, and then I'm doing internal rotation like this. Down, and then 3, 2, 1. And what you're looking for when you do this internal and external rotation is that the elbow stays fixed in place. We don't want the elbow moving around like this. We want the elbow still and doing your internal and external rotation like that. And then the last one that we're going to do now is bilateral active hanging. So what that means is that both arms are grabbing onto the bar, and I'm going to actively hang, which means I'm going to depress my scapula and hold myself up. So this is like basic shoulder conditioning that we use in the UMS, but for those of you that are recovering from a shoulder injury, this is really full on. So this is why we use this progressive overload, which we're going to talk about a lot today. And if you've just tuned in, guys, please say a hi, leave a comment, let me know where you're watching from, and any questions that you have about anything that we're doing here in this series, put them in the comments section. When I get back into the studio, I'm going to answer them all for you. Okay, so bilateral active hanging. I'm going to grab onto the chin-up bar, and then I'm going to pull down, hold for 3, 2, 1, and relax. 3, 2, 1, relax. 3, 2, 1, relax. So what we're looking for is completely relaxed at the bottom, so that's called a passive hang, and then we full on depression with the scapula, so the scapula pulls down for the active hang. Don't bend the elbows at all. Very, very important. So all of that stuff, except for the initial one with the medicine ball, you just do one set of each of those movements on each side. Everything else you can do between 3 and 5 sets now, so we can start increasing volume as well. And you always start with like a higher rep range when you're doing loaded, something that has weight that you can manipulate. So even with the dowel rod exercise on the ground, you can add weight to it by putting little weight plates on the dowel rod, but you want to try and start with a higher rep range of 15 to 20, and then you work your way down as you increase intensity. So the load goes up, you work the rep range down. You always start rehabilitation with a higher rep range, lower sets, so that you can still get, like if you do 3 sets of 20, you can still get 60 reps done versus say 4 or 5 sets of 12, which would be the same amount of reps or a bit less, but you're going to be doing more weight with it like that. And that's the way that you always progress your rehabilitation programs. All right, let's get back in the studio, and I'll talk about the biggest mistake people make and the key insights, and answer some questions. We've had some great questions that have been commented on the videos from the last couple of days that I'm going to answer, and I'm also going to remind you all to put your questions in the comments here so that I can answer them for you. And yeah, hit the like button. Let me know where you're watching from. So what I want to talk about now is the key insight and the biggest mistake that people make. So the key insight for today's show, as I said before, is that progressive overload is absolutely essential for strength training. It really is. And that is no exception for rehabilitation programs. So a big mistake that people make, like if you've been watching these shows, you can see the way that I'm using progressive overload very gently. It's bit by bit. And tomorrow, besides the complexity being increased and the intensity as well, I'm going to add a 6th exercise. So today we added a 5th exercise. The 2 workouts yesterday and the day before only had 4 exercises. And these are all things that you use to manipulate progressive overload so that you're very gradually making your workouts become harder. And this is something that people that really need to understand when you're doing a rehabilitation program. It's very, very important that you use progressive overload to safely move through your rehab so that you don't aggravate the injury again, and that you also give the body time to adapt to what you're currently doing before you make it harder like that. And the biggest mistake that people make is that people forget to regress and then use progressive overload again with their workouts when they take a break. And this is often one of the reasons why injuries happen in the first place. So let's say you've spent X amount of months to work your barbell back squat up from 50 kilos up to 80 kilos, and it took you a bit of time to do it. And then you go away, you take a 3-week vacation, and you come back, and often people very quickly go straight back up to that 80 kilo squat, which you shouldn't be doing. You should start back again, maybe not at 50 kilos, maybe at 60 kilos in this example, but your progression to get back up to 80 will happen a lot quicker than it did the first time, maybe even over only 4 to 6 weeks. But if you don't go back to a lower weight than what you left on, your body has taken a break off. Your mind remembers it, but your muscles don't. Your muscles have relaxed and they've adapted to not working out all the time. So it's very, very important that you understand that this really is the biggest mistake that people make. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get into some of these some of the questions that people asked us over the last 24 hours. And just to remind you guys, anyone that's watching, hit me up with any questions that you have so that I can help you. So Maria Lupia, we had a couple of great questions from. The first one was, how long before you progress from beginner to intermediate? So look, the general rule of thumb, Maria, is that in our UMS program, we take 6 weeks before we progress people but that's through our normal program. when it comes to rehab, this is where you really do want to work with a good physiotherapist, because they'll progress you differently. I've progressed with some exercises in my shoulder rehab in as quick as like 2 to 3 weeks, but then others I've been doing for 4 to 6 weeks. So it really just depends on the severity of your injury and also what a good physiotherapist is going to say. And I don't really like to give a rule of thumb for this kind of workout for how long you should progress. I would just say that it would vary between, for these workouts, I'd say somewhere between 4 and 8 weeks for the average person. Yeah, but I would really be working with a physiotherapist for that. Maria again has said, "Hi guys, this is awesome. I have shoulder injuries from doing drag and boat racing and F45. For those of you that are in America, F45 is called, I think it's called Functional 45, and it's these 45-minute workouts. It's a massive, massive franchise in Australia. I think they're even moving to America and Europe, where they do randomized workouts every day. That's their, if you Google F45 and have a look, their big selling point is that every workout is different. You never do the same thing again. And they're huge in Australia. They've come off the back end of the success of CrossFit, which has obviously come off the back end of the success of P90X. Back to Marie's question. I tried the first ball exercise, however, I have crappy wrists too, so found it painful on my wrist. Have to say, I definitely felt it in my scapula. Tiring, which is what we're looking for. Do you do one on, and she's just asking about training with us. So Maria, I'm going to say, and this is a lot of people, I'm going to really, I'm going to slam F45 here, to be honest. The idea of randomized workouts is one of the biggest problems in the fitness industry. It is a total fad. There's no good science to support randomized workouts, and it all comes from P90X talking about this concept called muscle confusion, which has just been slammed. There's so much good research to support periodization, which is this process that I'm talking about this week of how to periodize and progress your workouts. And we have so many people come to Unity Gym that have been injured through CrossFit or F45. It's uncanny. And they come to us and we fix their injuries, because by following a good periodized program, you can fix so many injuries, because we assess, we look at what the issue is, then we create a plan, you follow the plan, and then you progress the plan. It's totally different to just turning up to the gym and randomly doing some kind of a workout that takes your injuries into consideration. Not at all. They're not thinking, okay, what's the best course of action for Maria? They're just going, okay, well, this is the workout that we're doing today, and we're doing this just because we decided to choose these random workouts. Or these random exercises. So it's a really big problem. And then when you put that together with a really demanding competitive sport like dragon boating, yeah, you're gonna have problems. And if you've got problems in your wrists as well, in our experience, the problems that you're experiencing right now, that's a lot of experiences, isn't it? They're going to get a lot worse if you don't do something about it. If you don't make changes and start doing the things that your body needs, not what you feel motivates you to keep going to the gym, then the problems are going to get a hell of a lot worse. You know, when people start going down this downward slope of their body getting injured from what it is that they're doing, if you don't make some changes, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And we've experienced this so many times before. So I really hope that you do take that into consideration. I know that we spoke on the phone yesterday and you were really interested in joining our program, but you were hesitant to stop your F45 because of what you've done in the past. Because of the results that you've had with them in the past, the positive results that you've had. And I can really appreciate that. I can appreciate how, you know, it's hard to let go of something that you enjoy so much, and especially if you've had any kind of a positive result from it. But I can guarantee you that there's so much waiting for you if you do choose to leave that behind, at least short term. At least try something new. Try what something like the UMS, what we do here, see what it does for you. And if you don't like the results, then go back to it. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. In our experience, the people that you know, come to our program after they've been doing something else like this, where they've injured themselves, they really, really enjoy it. So hopefully that helps you out. Let's have a look. Robert, and I'm just going to say this again because I can see that we're getting more viewers here. Yeah, Yanni's just chimed in saying randomized workouts are inferior to periodized workouts by a long shot. There's just no comparison. There is no, to my knowledge, there's no strength coaches that are working with the world's best athletes that are doing randomized workouts. It just doesn't happen. Strength coaches that work with top athletes, they even write programs that go for an entire 12 months, an entire season. They pre-plan what they're going to be doing for an entire season. So yeah, guys, I just want to remind you, if any of you guys have any kind of questions at all about anything that we've been talking about this week or in this show, please write them in the comments section, because I'm going to be, once I finish these questions that we've got from the show yesterday, if that's it, it'll be a wrap. So yeah, any questions that you've got, hit them up. Now. So Robert Burwell is saying, hi Rad, Robert Burwell from USA. I have a right hip that pops when stretching. Any idea? Bro, it's most likely due to a past injury. Unless you've got a genetic defect, so if there's something that you were born with, which is possible, but it's unlikely. It's very rare that people have genetic issues that cause them. I shouldn't say that. In our experience, it's rare that that's what it is. It's usually something that's happened from an injury. My left hip pops badly when I move it, and I can date it back to the exact day and time. It was when I was rollerblading when I was much younger, and I had a really bad stack. And ever since then, when I move my hip, it kind of pops. And my body sounds like a Snap, Crackle and Pop commercial from back in the 80s when I move it in the morning when I'm warming it up. So does it cause you pain? Look, I don't know if you're watching the show right now, but I'd love to know if it causes you pain or if it's just a sound that happens. If it's a sound that happens, what it can often be is when you have injuries, and scar tissue develops in joints. Scar tissue is something that's not malleable, so it doesn't move so well. So as the joint moves, you can have a calcification on a bone in a joint, or you could have even what's the word I'm looking for? Muscle adhesions. And all of these things, as the joint moves, can cause a popping sound or a popping sensation. A lot of it can be fixed through massage and physical therapy and breaking down scar tissue through, using physio balls and things like that. So yeah, that's something that you might want to look at. I just want to see what Yanni's saying here. Yanni's saying most commonly it's synovial fluid moving in and out of the joint when you have a popping sound like that. So yeah, those are other things that can happen. Let's have a look. David Prosser. Thanks, man. Just what I need. Thanks for tuning in, David, and thanks for the love. Rosa Blamia is saying, hi, you show where you place the ball for the men on the chest. I struggle with my chest muscle as they get in the way. I'm guessing that you're talking about the pec minor release that we showed yesterday where you put the physio ball on your chest. Yeah, look, if you're I'm presuming you're a woman, Rosa, I can only imagine that mobility exercise for women is a lot harder for men because obviously you've got breasts. But the idea of getting, so that's something that, we've got women in Unity Gym that have quite large breasts that still manage to do that exercise. So I can only imagine it's a little bit of positioning that I can't really coach you on from personal experience. But the idea of getting the arm up into this position, it thins out the pec major, so the big muscle over the top of the pec minor. That's the idea of bringing the arm up there. It thins it out so you can get through it and get into that pec minor. So I hope that helps you. Yanni's just saying in response to Robert's question here, it can also be bone spurs or tendon adhesion. Tendons that are tight can jump over one another as they shorten and lengthen. And Yanni's advice is, if it bothers you, get a qualified physiotherapist to have a look. I think Rad has a recent physio, Dr. Phil, on the show tomorrow, Thursday. We'll definitely discuss if he is. Okay, moving on. So on the shoulder rehab beginner bulletproof workout, Rachel Eastwood Stone is saying, is the order essential? Yes, Rachel, the order absolutely is essential. I highly recommend that you do the mobility exercises first so that you mobilize the joint and prevent the possibility of shoulder impingement. That's really, really important. And the idea of the exercise progressions in these workouts is that the first couple of scapular activation exercises are the easiest ones, and they're designed to switch on the central nervous system's ability to control those muscles and fire them up to keep the scapula stabilized. And you want that scapular stabilization really ready to go when you move on to the harder progressions, the external rotations, and in today's workout, the active hanging. So the exercise order is absolutely critical. It always is when we write programs. We never write programs in the UMS with random exercise orders. The exercise order is very, very important, and it's always written in the hierarchy of needs. So the most important thing first, and so on and so forth. And Rachel's saying, you'll have to let us know what difference it makes to you when you do come back. Excited for you. I can only imagine that you're saying to my shoulder injury and the difference that it makes, you know, from doing these workouts. But I can tell you right now, if that is what you're saying, Rachel, this has been life-changing for me. These workouts have dramatically improved the injury that I've had. I've had an amazing recovery compared to the average person, considering that the kind of injury that I have, a lot of people end up getting surgery for it. So I hope that helps, guys. We don't have any other questions today, which is a shame, because the more questions we get on these shows, the more we can help you guys out. So hopefully tomorrow and Friday we can get a little bit more interaction from you guys. It always makes the show better. Nonetheless, remind me where you're watching from so I can give you guys a shout out. And anyone that's watching the show later after it's gone live, hit us up with your questions and we'll answer them in tomorrow's show. Tomorrow we're going into some really advanced shoulder rehabilitation work and advanced shoulder conditioning. Don't miss it. It is really taking it up a notch tomorrow. And then Friday, we're going to bring this whole thing in for a landing with some strategy and going far beyond shoulder rehabilitation and shoulder conditioning into shoulder, advanced shoulder strengthening techniques and some programming that you guys can use. Hope you got something out of today's show, and really hope to see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.
Health is about performance, not just body image.
You better be willing to accept what you're going to have to do to get there.
We'll start focusing on movement goals, strength goals, flexibility goals.
When you nail that skill, it's there forever.
The body image goal doesn't get you that far.
It's the consistency and frequency that's going to get you there. It's not the intensity.
There's no shortcuts to mastery and movement. Destination doesn't change overnight, but your direction will.
The gym is not the place to beat up the body that you hate. It's the place to build the body that you love.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.